Saturn is the jewel of our system, majestic and golden, while Neptune is the beast, a world of supersonic winds and eternal storms. But between them lies another world, a pale and featureless blue marble floating in the absolute cold and eternal void. It looks deceptively calm, its smooth cyan surface revealing no traces of raging storms or dark spots visible to the eye. This planet is silent, frozen in its own cold, remaining perhaps the most terrifying place in our entire cosmic neighborhood. To a casual observer, it looks boring, but any astronomer knows the truth. Something is fundamentally and irreparably wrong with this world. Everything here is broken, and the planet drags its magnetic field behind it like a mutilated and painfully bent broken limb. Before us is a planetary crime scene that has been frozen in time for 4 billion long years. Look at the system from above. Almost every planet stands upright and spins on its axis like a spinning top. But not Uranus. For this world is tilted at an incredible angle of 98 degrees to its orbit. It literally lies on its side and doesn't spin, but rolls around the sun like a ball thrown by someone into the void. Physics demands order, and gravity demands alignment. So such an anomaly can only be explained by extreme, catastrophic violence. Billions of years ago, when our system was still young and chaotic, Uranus was likely a normal, upright planet. Everything changed when a protoplanet, twice the size of Earth, emerged from the shadows. It slammed into Uranus with a monstrous force equivalent to the explosion of 1 billion nuclear arsenals. This impact was so devastating that it didn't just crack the crust, it literally knocked the entire planet over. The consequences of this ancient murder are terrifying, turning the seasons on Uranus into a long nightmare for any observer. A single year here lasts 84 Earth years, and all this time the planet continues its strange journey on its side. Because of this tilt, the poles of Uranus point directly at the Sun for half of its incredibly long orbital path. On the North Pole, you would face 42 years of constant, unblinking sunlight without a single sunset. At the same time, the South Pole is plunged into 42 years of absolute, pitch-black, and soul-chilling winter darkness. Imagine being born on the dark side. You would grow old and die without ever seeing a single sunrise. Your world would only be the distant stars and the infinite, piercing cold of deep and hostile space. We long thought Uranus was a dead billiard ball, but infrared light revealed a planet full of hidden atmospheric horrors. It is not a solid glacier, but a swirling, violent mix of water, methane, and ammonia, hidden under the deceptive blue clouds. Deep inside, intense pressure breaks molecules apart, turning ordinary carbon into myriads of hard, sparkling diamonds. Scientists believe that there, in the eternal darkness, it literally rains diamonds, falling into a bottomless liquid ocean. This hidden ocean will never be seen by a human eye, locked away under layers of gas in the coldest spot in the system. Unlike its brother Neptune, Uranus radiates almost no internal heat, remaining a terrifyingly cold and energy-depleted world. The temperature in its atmosphere drops to minus 224 degrees Celsius, freezing any possibility of life. Where did its internal heat go? Perhaps that very impact expelled the planet's energy out into open space. Now at the center of Uranus lies only a frozen zombie core, deprived of internal fire and vital force. The upper atmosphere is rich in hydrogen sulfide, creating a toxic and suffocating layer of thick gas fog. If you could take a breath here, you would smell the overwhelming stench of rotten eggs in this icy hell. Before us is a toxic, foul-smelling, and frozen wasteland that merely disguises itself as a beautiful blue marble. Uranus also has rings, but they are broken things. They do not shine like the golden halos of Saturn. These rings are dark as charcoal, made of dust and boulders hiding in the dark like a cosmic stealth system. They reflect almost no light, remaining only shadows against the massive, sideways rolling azure body of the planet. 27 moons orbit Uranus, named not after gods but after characters from the works of the great Shakespeare. The strangest among them is Miranda, looking like a Frankenstein monster smashed by a hammer and clumsily glued back together. Huge canyons cross its surface, and mismatched terrains clash against each other in a chaotic and wild mess. There is a theory that Miranda was shattered by a collision, and its fragments were pulled back together into this jumbled puzzle. On this broken moon lies Verona Rupes, the tallest and most terrifying cliff in our entire solar system. Imagine a wall 20 kilometers high. If you jumped off, low gravity would turn the fall into a slow float. It would take you 12 minutes to hit the bottom, floating in the absolute and deafening silence of the vacuum. You would have plenty of time to regret your decision, watching the pale blue face of Uranus staring back from the abyss. But even the survival of these moons is not eternal. Calculations show that Cupid and Belinda are on a collision course. Uranus is a system of pure chaos, slowly and relentlessly eating itself in this distant darkness. We visited this world only once, in January 1986, when Voyager 2 raced past the planet for a brief moment. The probe had only a few hours to take photos before gravity flung it further toward Neptune and the stars. Since then, no earthly probe has returned, leaving Uranus in its proud and icy solitude. We send rovers to the red planet, but this blue giant continues its strange path in complete isolation. Now NASA is drafting plans for a new mission in the 2040s, dreaming of finally measuring this magnetic and atmospheric chaos. We want to drop a probe into this cyan abyss so it can taste the clouds and reveal old secrets. But until then, Uranus will jealously keep its secrets, remaining out of reach for our instruments and eyes. It reminds us that the universe is not always orderly. It is violent, unpredictable, and frighteningly wild. It is a beautiful, pale blue corpse, eternally drifting in the dark as a monument to a catastrophe at the dawn of time. Its magnetic field continues to wobble, creating an uneven wake in the solar wind like the pulse of a dying creature. The shadows of the rings fall across the clouds like thin blades, emphasizing the scale of this abandoned planet. Methane ice crystals sparkle in the thin air, catching the weak and cold rays of the incredibly distant sun. Miranda's relief reminds us that even gravity cannot always fix the consequences of cosmic fury. Voyager's golden record still reflects the dim light, carrying the memory of Uranus into the infinite black void. Unstable orbits of the moons weave a complex pattern, foretelling new destruction in this already scarred system. Diamond raindrops shatter on the surface of the hidden ocean, creating ripples that no human will ever see. Extreme cold turns gases into solid frost, coating the planet's upper layers in a crust of frozen methane. Against the backdrop of the Milky Way, Uranus seems like a tiny and defenseless point lost on the very edge of our home. White streaks of methane cirrus clouds are the only movement on this seemingly still and frozen sphere. Its core is a monument to silence, a cold iron remnant that stopped beating billions of years ago after the impact. The broken ridges of Miranda tell the story of a world that was destroyed and rebuilt from its own ruins. This entire tilted system continues to roll into nowhere, carrying its rings and moons into the eternal night. The pale light of Uranus slowly fades in the lens, leaving us alone with the silence of the great cosmic abyss.